This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Pod. This is the show for week of December 26, 2022. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. On to the dead week of the year where everybody pretends to work and doesn't work, or
unless you work in one of those industries that has January 1st renewals of things, and then this is our busiest week of the year.
Yes. So this week is a week of recuperation and contemplation of the new year coming. But more importantly, we are doing second trip report show of 3, maybe 4, probably this might be it. See how far we go. This is not going to be like any other trip report, except it's going to be exactly like every other trip report. But Phil and I are going to be talking at the same time, essentially, because it overlaps. And instead of doing like, I'll do my trip report and I'll mention when I saw Phil, and then Phil will do his trip report and mention when he saw me, we're going to do a blended trip report. A report that's never been done before, I don't think.
Possibly for a reason. But.
Yes, right. We're gonna find out. We're doing it. We're doing this as we go along. I only say this because we didn't have a trip together, right? So it's not like a shared trip report. We were literally have 2 separate trips going on simultaneously with some crossover. So before we get to it, though, Phil, what is everyone talking about? We got really cool stuff happening.
Yes. Cool a couple things have reopened at our Walt Disney World. The big one that everyone has been waiting for a long time is that the Walt Disney World Railroad has reopened after over 4 years of being closed, almost 1,500 days. The Walt Disney World Railroad, and finally Walt's Magic Kingdom has a train going around it again. They soft opened it, I think, on the 23rd or 22nd, and then like the next day it was like, it's open. And they have all new narration with somebody who's supposed to sort of sound like the mayor of the Magic Kingdom, could be right off Main Street and that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. I was listening to, and I'm going to link out to Blog Mickey as a great page where they sort of have little videos going from like station to station, so you don't have to watch the whole thing at once. So I was watching to see what happens when it goes past Tron, and they have kind of a fun little thing they do that's kind of that makes it sound like somebody from Tron is interrupting the narrator and is like scanning the train and like, okay, you're approved to move on and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. The only other thing people are commenting on is that they do in the narration talk about Splash Mountain and Brer Rabbit and all that sort of stuff. People were, I guess, a little surprised about that, knowing that it's already been announced that in less than a month it'll be closing. My guess is they've probably had this narration done for a while, probably before they knew when exactly Splash was going to close. So I figure they'll still talk about while it's open, and I'm sure they have a new narration ready to go for after it closed and when they'll talk about what's coming and stuff like that. So,
what are they going to do with the view into? Is it just going to be a dark tunnel basically at that point when you pass by? I think
that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if they'll just cover the windows or maybe they could put screens up temporarily or something. I assume they'll just cover it with like maybe like wraps or something like that, like under construction with, like almost like promotional posters or something like that for Tiana's and stuff like that. So,
yep, probably.
The other thing that reopened though is probably, doesn't get quite the attention, but the American Adventure reopened in Epcot at the America Pavilion. And from what we hear, or I should say from what Disney Food Blog reported, because they talked to cast members down there, and they said all the animatronics got a complete refurb all the way down to the metal structures. And they shared some video of some of the animatronics, and the movement looks sort of like
amazing.
It looks great. It looks like the, like on Navi River Journey, the giant Navi, how smooth that looks. That's how all these look. So I feel like this is a underappreciated attraction. It's, maybe not the most exciting or thrilling thing, but it's like an engineering marvel how they have all these animatronics that move, all these scenes that move up and down and around and how they fit it all in there. So if you have some extra time at Epcot and you haven't seen this, highly recommend it. And it's now open and, check it out.
I mean, I was kind of sad. I totally had forgotten that this was down, and I walked into the pavilion, wanted to see like when the next showing was. Like, I was like, "Oh right, oh, we were all disappointed." But we did get to see some of the carolers start singing a little bit as we kind of moved on. So we get a little taste of the American experience. But no, this show is excellent. Yeah, and if you've never seen it before, shame on you. It's quite good.
Yep, and it's also if you go in the summer or something like that, it's a good air conditioning break.
100%.
And the last thing, it's not really a news item, but I thought I would have a DBC recommends. We haven't had those in a while. But there's a YouTube channel. It's called Tom Bet George, also known as Magical Light Shows. But they do, a lot of people do like kind of fancy light shows, around the holidays where they, have computer program and stuff like that. But this person does them, but he also uses 300 drones. And they have one up now that is all through the Encanto music. So it's basically, there's a video with the best of the Encanto stuff. And it's like, clips of all the songs. And just seeing what they do with drones above it, acting out scenes from Encanto above the house and stuff, it kind of gives you, I don't know, kind of makes you figure like, why can't Disney do this? But but check it out. It's really, really impressive. A lot of impressive people out there. This is one of the best things I've ever seen as far as holiday. My kids were like entranced by it and stuff like that. So
the stuff they do with drones is absolutely amazing, and why they can do this at other Disney parks. And not at Disney World is fascinating. There's got to be a reason for it, but I don't see it right now. Maybe I don't. I doubt it's a money thing because drones are not like they're not super. I mean, they're not cheap either, but like they're not. It's not a major investment like putting a giant Stargate in the middle of a lake, right? And giant.
Well, they're working on a new show now for Epcot, so maybe they'll use. I mean, that certainly would be something that could be viewed, 360 degrees around the lagoon and stuff like that. So
that would be a perfect show for Animal Kingdom because it's not spitting water up. You can make them somewhat quiet. For sure, not scare the animals. I don't know.
I mean, it's not any louder than the music they play and stuff like that. So for sure.
True. Predictions for 2023 and 2024.
There we go. Oh, preview. But that'll do it for the news. And just a reminder of all our social media accounts, all on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, all at the DBC Pod and our Discord server.
So, Phil, I've been thinking about how to do this trip report, like I mentioned at the top of the show. I don't know how this is going to go. I've been trying to refresh my trip. You've started doing your trip report on Discord. I haven't looked at. I think last time I looked at yours, like day 2 or 3 of it was 3 or 4.
I think I'm through day 3.
Yeah, day 3, and it's like I don't want to write my trip report yet because I'm doing home videos of it currently right now. I took a lot of videos of I'm through 4 days right now, so I've done 3 park days in my arrival day, and so I'm kind of fresh on doing that. But typically, I write my trip report like 2 days after I get home because I'm excited to share it. And now it's just like it's a little bit of a prolonged thing. And I also wanted to kind of keep the discussion fresh for this show and then just kind of discuss it afterwards, I guess, too. So we'll see how this goes. So just to recap, the vacations of 2022 started on Monday, December 5th. That was the time that we left our house. And both of us came home on the same day on Tuesday, the 13th. To kind of give you an idea. So that is a Monday to a Tuesday. And Phil, you arrived on Thursday, if I remember correctly.
Thursday evening, we arrived in Orlando, Thursday the 8th.
So I have had, by the time Phil gets there, I've had 2 full park days, and then Phil starts. So we're going to start at the beginning. It's Monday the 5th. We had a regular old weekend. I think I had visited my in-laws in North Jersey. We came back, and then the next day I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a nap in the evening. Couldn't quite do that. But I had a little bit of literal shut eye, but no sleep. And then I got up, and it was 8 o'clock. I'm like, all right, let's pack the car. We're going. Let's go. So at 9 o'clock we had left on Monday night. Drove all the way down, straight shot. I think I got about a 1 hour rest, and we arrived at the Silver Lake Resort on 1:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday the 6th. we were originally months and months and months ago, when we've mentioned this plenty of times on the show, that I didn't want to just arrive at our Disney resort tired, and that is our arrival day. I've been up for like 24 hours. So we were able to get a good deal on Silver Lake Resort. Again, it was like $100 with all the taxes and fees kind of thrown in there. Beautiful resort. So if you need, if you have like a weekend where you just want to go down there and stay somewhere inexpensive, but like the rooms were full, kitchen, everything else, highly recommend it. Saltwater pools that are heated. It was like bath water. It was awesome. So we arrived around 1:30. We got out. We got changed, and we hopped in the pool for a couple hours. And the room was ready around 3:30, 4 o'clock, when it normally would have been ready for check-in. We checked into the room, quite surprised by how spacious it was. Put all our stuff. We got changed, and right around 4:30 or so, off we went to Disney Springs. I had been to Disney Springs, since 2017 probably.
Wow.
Our last trip we went down last year, it was just like a short little trip, so we didn't even bother going to Disney Springs. And in 2019, we didn't have any time to kind of take an evening off and go. So 2017 was the last time we went, and it's perfectly the same and perfectly different at the same time. So we did the Christmas tree kind of hunt that you could do. We didn't buy
the Christmas tree stroll. Yeah,
we didn't buy the stickers or whatever, but we hit up all the different trees. They were really beautiful.
Just so you know, you don't actually have to pay for those. They give them out for free, the sticker sheets.
Oh, do they? Okay, because I assumed so, because Epcot usually charges.
I think they have them like kind of marketed. You have to go into a handful of stores. Like we went into Uniqlo to get ours, and you have to kind of go in the site. I assume they sort of paid like sponsorship to get them, but then they just give you the maps and stuff like that. Yep.
Okay. We saw all of them anyway, and so we didn't need the stickers, but I guess we could have gotten something. I think we wanted to get something to eat. I had made no plans for dinner at all. We didn't want to spend any money at any of the restaurants,
right?
And so we just went to the food trucks. I was trying to find. There was a vegetarian that has like plant-based meats and barbecue on the food trucks. That was closed when we got there, so there was just a mac and cheese truck that we decided to eat at. So we did that, and then we just basically had two desserts that we wanted. There was the Dole Whip on the peppermint bark. That was really good. That was located. Not that anybody's going to listen to this and then actually go down, because it's probably not going to be now. But it was in that one. It was like a little tiny like hut thing right by Rainforest Cafe, and that was really yummy. And we had that right before we left. And at that point, I'm like, I need to go to bed. I've been up for, I don't know, like plus 24 hours. Like it was ridiculous. So we got back, and I immediately hit the hay, and I was in bed by like 8:30. My wife was awesome and took care of the kids. And I have to say, I haven't slept that well. I don't know how long. Like, as a father of 3 young kids, especially a 4-year-old, I'm getting woken up quite a bit. So I'm used to like interruptions. I closed my eyes. I didn't wake up until like my alarm went off at like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Wow.
That was the next day. Okay, so the plan was, what are we going to do? We talked about this on the show, I think about a month ago, right? So do we just stroll into the resort and just wait and then go into Magic Kingdom in the evening? Because the first day is our Magic Kingdom day. Or do we drive over, drop off our car, and hop on the closest bus, and then have a full day at the Magic Kingdom and just kind of come back in the middle of the day and kind of get settled and then go back? Do we drive straight to the parks and do it that way and then go drive back to the resort? All that kind of logistics nonsense. What we ended up doing was decided to go right to the resort. We got there at like, I want to say like 7:30ish or so. I was literally in the car at 7 o'clock because I was doing my lightning lanes from my car. Which
you did it in the car?
It was 7 o'clock. I was like, the kids were getting into the car. I'm like, okay, it's 7 o'clock. I was attempting to get Jungle Cruise. I did not get Jungle Cruise because my Wi-Fi gave out and my 5G gave out. And it was just like, it seemed to me throughout the whole trip, and tell me if you had the same experience. It seemed like the Primo Lightning Lane ride was delayed like a couple minutes before even.
We definitely saw that too. And if we had it, because if you like it in the regular Genie thing, it kind of goes to your top. And there were a couple times where I'm like, oh, I guess they haven't gone live yet. And it was just, if I had scrolled down further though, I would have seen other ones have that available.
I said the same thing.
Not like the ones we had favorited. So I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, but a couple times where it felt like, oh, am I refreshing an extra time, and that's why we're delayed or don't get things or whatever. But yeah, it was I guess it wasn't like the worst thing ever, but it made things a
No,
little
it's the
better.
worst thing. It's the worst. I mean, at 7:00, you woke up purposely, to do
Especially
this,
the first
like,
day or
is it
whatever.
working?
You're like, it's just a lot of like, am I doing something wrong? Like, is the whole thing falling apart or whatever? And then you're like, okay, it's just a 2-minute wait or whatever. And then it's
Yeah.
okay.
So I ended up getting whatchamacallit, Jingle Cruise, but it was too late in the day, and I did not want to start my first Magic Kingdom day with like a 2:00 lightning lane.
Okay, yeah.
So I canceled it, and I ended up getting Pirates for 10 after 10. And then we drove. It was about 10-minute drive from Silver Lake Resort, which is literally less than a mile from the gates of Animal Kingdom. It's super
Yes,
cool.
it's right by the back entrance near Animal Kingdom. I've stayed there a few times using timeshare points we have, so we like that location a lot. There's a ton of stuff in that area. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
you're closer to Animal Kingdom than a lot of the Disney resorts.
Mm-hmm. So we hopped right over to CBR. And we pulled in. I said to the guard, "Where can we park? Can we park anywhere?" He said, "Yeah, go park wherever you want. Have a good day." I'm like, "Okay, that was nice and easy." And we drove right in. We literally drove. We parked behind not the lobby parking lot, but the next stop down.
Okay.
I forget which one it is. And we parked right behind the bus stop. We got out, and the bus was just pulling up, and just walked into the bus.
Oh wow. Nice.
So I'm like, oh, this is great. Perfect. And then 15 minutes later, our room was ready. So, which I'm happy about, right? We didn't have to wait until like 4:00 for the room to be ready, but we also weren't told the room was ready at like 10 after 7, where we had to make another decision. Do we go to the room and get settled in?
So you just
or do we
left
go to the
everything
car?
in the bus, in the car, and then got on the bus. Yeah.
Yes. So everything's in the car. We get on the bus, and we are now doing a rope drop normal day at Magic Kingdom. And I don't know what the best way to do this. Do I go from here to here and here? It was your typical day at Magic Kingdom. We went to Fantasyland, rope drop, mine train. There was about a 20-minute wait. We went through all of that to kind of give you an idea. So we did lightning lane at 7 for Pirates, rope drop. We were online for mine train at 8:30. We were at the merge point by 8:53, and we were off of it by 9:04 to kind of give you a sense of how that rope drop works. And there was plenty of crowd in front of us that got there early too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were the first in line. And then I was speaking. Maybe you can comment on the feeling of Magic Kingdom after gone multiple times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So whether it's with Genie Plus or with FastPass, it seems like every time we go to Magic Kingdom, I attack it the same way. We rope drop and do this, and then we go to Haunted Mansion, then we go to Pirates, then we do Splash or Big Thunder, skip over to Tomorrowland, maybe do some pictures, do some lunch, and it seems like every time we do the park, we do it the same exact way, and it gets very mechanical. And I don't like that. And only Genie Plus is the only thing that exasperates that.
Yes.
Even further. Has that been like that for all of your full day at Magic Kingdoms?
I think your full days when you're rope dropping, especially because only 2 lands are open for the early entry time. So, and that was the case before. So you're really either doing Fantasyland, which means you're in line for either Peter Pan or Mine Train, most likely, or you're doing Tomorrowland and going to Space Mountain. Like it's like everybody kind of does the same stuff. So yeah, and once you kind of get going, you just sort of keep rolling because there's always so many attractions that either have a relatively short wait or they're your next, Fast Pass or Lightning Lane or something like that. And then you almost have to force yourself to put in there like, okay, we're taking a break to eat, or we're taking time for pictures on Main Street or something like that. It is, there's so much to do and to head to that it can be kind of hard to just wander, especially if you haven't been there, you're not there all the time and you want to maximize your time there. But I fully agree with what you're saying. There's only so many things you can do in that early entry, and I think that kind of then dictates what your next stuff is.
Well, I mean, forget about early entry, right? Let's say you go to Pan instead of Mine Train or Space Mountain instead of whatever. It's the rest of the park that is just the same. Excuse me, I had to sneeze / cough. And I mean, this just goes for the rest of the day. Like, let's even you got there at 9:00. The way you attack the park, if you have a full day there, like the way the crowds act towards the rides and how the lines fill up and how Genie Plus or Fast Pass Plus used to work, it kind of dictated like it's the same plan of attack. There's nothing new. There's nothing different. It becomes, how do I get to the next ride? And I stop looking around and enjoying the music. It's like the magic disappears a little bit because, again, I use my word. I'm like a project manager kind of. I'm still having a great time. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But this is like 2 weeks now thinking about it, and I could only think about all my times at Magic Kingdom are almost exactly alike as far as where we went, when we went, and how we went.
Yeah.
Right. So the mentality of the parks kind of all blends together. So I'm not getting a unique experience every single time I go. And that's on me. That's not Disney's fault. That's
Yeah.
my fault. But Disney also built the ecosystem to allow that to happen as well.
I think
So
that goes
anyway,
back to a little like what we talked
yeah.
about, like what's the best plan going forward, and maybe having that one day with Genie Plus and one day without might help a little bit with that, where you're kind of almost forced to do other stuff when you don't have Genie Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then other things, it's a little thing, but on our way out on our trip, and we'll get to it, but we kind of got stopped by the parade, and we were almost like forced to enjoy the parade, which is kind of like a funny thing to say, but that kind of broke that kind of like broke up the day and kind of like made us not just go. We're like, okay, well, we're here, let's enjoy it. And
Yeah.
so you almost have to have something like that to kind of get you slap you in the face and get you out of your project management a little bit.
So much like our day of go, here's our itinerary go, right? Again, I'll start at the beginning. Lightning Lane at 7:00. We're off Mine Train at 9:04. Off Haunted Mansion at 9:39. And immediately we're on Pirates. We got off of Pirates at 10:15. And while we're online for Pirates, we get on Splash Mountain and no, we waited for Splash Mountain, and then, gosh, my I thought I had all my things here. At 10:00 we then booked our first Lightning Lane or second Lightning Lane for Space for 12:20. Right.
Okay.
So then we get off Splash. That's when we get caught up with a Mickey Cavalcade, which is exactly the experience you just said. Like, we weren't planning on it, but it happened in front of us, and that was really fun. And we had a really cool moment where we walked behind the cavalcade, and I had two of my kids in either hand, and my other youngest running up in the middle and getting pictures, and have a video of us kind of backing up. It looked like a Disney commercial. I'm very proud of the shot. My wife did a good job with it. But it was like that, those little sparks that were awesome. We had my daughter really loves seeing the characters, that whole type of thing. But it was now time for an Aurora ride. Aurora being my daughter, my almost 5-year-old at this point, because we had gone on Pirates. She didn't like Pirates; it was a little scary. She liked it, but didn't like it. Splash Mountain, terrified. Haunted Mansion, she loves. Mine Train, she loved it, but it was also she wanted to do the carousel because she saw the carousel at Disney Springs and wanted to go on that. I'm like, I'm not paying money to go on a lesser form of the ride on tomorrow. So the funny thing is with the carousel, they were loading it at like 60% of capacity. I mean, it was going around like if you haven't been on the carousel in a while, they lead you to the end. The line kind of twirls around in the metal gates. And at the end, there's like 2 corrals worth of people that they kind of just fill up. And then once everything else, they just load those people from that corral and then they fill it up. That's how they kind of measure the amount of people. However, every time it went around, it was literally about anywhere between 10 and 20 horses that weren't being used. I didn't ask the cast members; I was going to harass them, but it was pretty consistent. It wasn't like, "Oops, we forgot," or there weren't enough people, or they weren't moving fast. It was just like it was repeated. So I wasn't quite sure what was going on. That was one of the longest lines I waited on that day. Was the stinking carousel. I love the carousel. I love the history of it, but I mean, it's a pretty big people mover, right? Like it capacity is pretty good for it, and it moves pretty quick. Anyway, we got off the carousel, and of course, my Disney experience is buzzing because we have reservations for the Crystal Palace. And I've mentioned this on the show. We've got a shot with our kids from behind, staring up the castle from Crystal Palace, hanging on the thing. So we got that done. And there's a lot of more stroller parking out front there. So we had to kind of nudge some strollers to the side. But Crystal Palace is back to where it was. It was the first time we sat on a left-handed wing rather than the right-hand wing. And the characters came out. It was really good. The service was great. It was basically 2019 all over again. The bill came, and it was almost with tip. It was like $300 for my family. And I'm like, we're never doing character meals ever again. Because I only had done it with the dining plan. I never had to pay for it, quote unquote, out of my pocket before. And I have to say, my 2 oldest loved it, but they were, we got to meet the characters okay. And my oldest daughter was like, "There's some really good food here. Can we go back for thirds?" I'm like, "You need to relax a little bit, right?" She likes to eat. But my youngest daughter loved the interactions. She's bouncing up and down when Tigger comes by and hugging Winnie the Pooh. And that was great. And I think the next time we go, we might focus on one really good meal versus some of these character meals, and this is going to be repeated with the other character meals that we end up doing the rest of the trip. So
Okay.
we go into Crystal Palace. We get done around 1:00, and remember we had the lightning lane for Space Mountain, so we do that. My daughter did not like Space Mountain. She's just terrified, and it was dark and sharp turns, and it was fast. She was not ready for that. It was the first time ever on it. But my son was like chanting Space Mountain the whole time there. That was like the theme of the whole trip. When are we going on Space Mountain? Like, Sawyer, how did you like? I had the video camera in his face. How did you like Haunted Mansion? When are we going on Space Mountain? And I'm like, that's not the question I asked, but we're getting there. Okay, so my last booking for the lightning was at 10:17. Once we're on Space Mountain, I kind of couldn't find a good lightning lane because typically in the middle of the day, because we wanted to leave, right? So we wanted to leave back to the resort. There were lightning lanes for everything, all the middle B, C, D ticket rides. Like typically, Kingdom, if it's not uber busy, you can get on a lightning lane for anything other than the big rides and just immediately go on. So that was kind of it. So I'll just list it from now on. Here we go. Off of Space Mountain at 1:20, we got into the Little Mermaid. We used the lightning lane for the Speedway. Then around 2:50, 3:00, we got on a bus to the resort. I wish we had left around 1 or 2 o'clock, right after Crystal Palace. That was my mistake. Again, this is how I'm kind of touring the parks now. We talked about this last week. This is where I said I wanted more resort time to kind of decompress. We left at 3. I would have liked to left right after lunch. So that's lessons learned. And then at the resort, I got a lightning lane for Big Thunder Mountain at 6 o'clock. I got a lightning lane for 7 o'clock for Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. We had some pool time. We had some dinner time. Back to the room 6:15. And we got on the bus at 6:40 to go back to the Magic Kingdom. And my goodness, was it busy and packed. And it's a Wednesday night. It's not like it's a Saturday night where locals are coming in and what have you. And we had a sprint to make Big Thunder Mountain. And we got there. Apparently, it had just been down. And, when it's down, the lightning lane just backs up. It turns into a regular standby line. And after carrying my 5-year-old daughter and my wife that's tired and sprinting through the park, and she's like, I'm not waiting on this line. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. So all we did was we went over to Buzz, and then we got off of Buzz around 8 o'clock. And I believe Enchantment starts at like 8:15, 8:30, somewhere in that time.
Yeah, I think 8:30.
And so my kids had never seen the show. I saw the show in the summer. There was literally nowhere to stand. And I think I mentioned this again last week. And we tried to go on the side of the castle. We tried to go like on the bridges from Tomorrowland. We wanted to go perhaps back by the train station. There was no good viewing spot, literally. And my wife does not like crowds, and we weren't going to push her way anywhere. Even if we loved crowds and we wanted to be shoulder to shoulder with all the strangers possible, there was literally no room. And I felt very bad for the cast members. And again, I mentioned this. I keep saying this. I mentioned this last week. The road or the opened area to go around Main Street and exit out, that was full of people that you couldn't even see the castle. You were just looking behind backstage buildings, and it was absolutely ridiculous. So my wife was tired. We had a really good full day. Typically, we're used to in the summer that Magic Kingdom closes at 9, usually right after fireworks. So we had a full day, and I would say it's pretty successful. We could have had more lightning lanes, but they would have been, B and C tier lightning lanes, and it would have been just going on rides for the sake of doing that. And we went back to the resort for the day, and we had. I want to say it was a very successful day. We ended up. My wife and my family were troopers. We did the whole rope drop thing. We just trudged through everything. Didn't have to carry any of my kids except for that sprint across the park. I carried her because of crowds, not because she was tired. And day 2 was our Hollywood Studios day.
Yeah, I think I'll just mention before you were saying the evening was crowded and watching the Enchantment, you really couldn't. I know we chatted about this on Discord, and our good friend Zach mentioned or reminded us that now, this time of year with the holiday party, with the Christmas party, there's really only like 3 evenings a week that you can be in Magic Kingdom if you don't have a Christmas party ticket. And so I think it just really builds the crowds, that the people who want to see
True.
enchantment and that sort of thing, there's just not many options for them, so they're all going to be there, and it's disappointing because it's like you said, your kids hadn't seen it, you wanted to see it, you gave yourself a half hour, that should be time to find a spot, and it's just too many people, it's too crowded. So a little bit of a bummer, but I think we've had some negative experiences trying to like smush in with crowds and stuff like that. I definitely think you made the right call with heading out.
Well, I mean, fast forwarding to Saturday, I had thought the crowded day would be the Saturday because that's typically when Magic Kingdom's the busiest. And I would say for Enchantment, if we wanted to do it, it was probably 70-80% of the capacity that we saw on Wednesday. It totally blew me out of my mind that Wednesday was much busier of the 2 days. That being said, we wake up the next day. We wanted to do Hollywood Studios. This is my wife and I's least favorite park. It has some of the best rides, but again, I'm repeating myself. Navigating this park, crisscrossing it, is one of the worst. And if our friend of the show, Julie, hears me say this, she's probably gonna smack me across my face because of it. And I love her because she works there, and it's her favorite park. And if you remember our show from, my goodness, 2 years ago, Phil, where we had to defend your favorite park kind of debate kind of thing, and then she did a valiant job with Hollywood Studios. The reason why we don't like it, I don't, as a family, is it has a lot of good parts, but it's hard to get to each part because there's a lot of crowds in between all of them, and it's tough to navigate. You got to backtrack, go back through dead ends. That type. It's not very good flow. That being said, woke up at 7, got my lightning lane for Slinky at 7:45. This was an evening plan from the start, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're gonna do is my plan was to rope drop Rise of the Resistance. I did not want to spend the money for it, and we were gonna beeline it for Rise. And even if we had to wait 40, 50 minutes for the first part of the day, we were gonna do it and get out of the way. Our Skyliner went down, and we were stuck in it for 20 long minutes. And this just enhanced the phobia of my wife. She doesn't like heights, and just dangling from a rope, as a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. Every time I moved, she would yell, "No, sit still, and go towards the middle." And of course, my daughter, who's similar to my wife, caught on with that and started yelling at me the whole trip. It was like, "Daddy, you need to sit in the middle. Stop moving. We're gonna fall." I'm like, "We're good. We're okay." And of course, now they're reading the warning signs on the door, so like, don't jump up and down. Like, I can't even get up to open up the windows. Anyway, Skyliner's down for 20 minutes. We got to the park entrance at 8:24 when the ride was down. Well, the park is open at 8 because it opens at 8:30. So we got a Rise. I booked Lightning Lane for Rise of the Resistance at 6:45. So I have a 6:45 and a 7:45 for 2 rides already. We beeline it for Tower of Terror. We were online for a solid 40 minutes. So we got online at 8:30. My youngest daughter did not like it. I got her into the ride vehicle, and she's kicking and screaming.
Oh gosh,
I'm not ruining this for everybody else, so I pulled her out.
Okay.
We did a rider swap. They're very good about that. My daughter got it to go on twice, and I think by 8:20 or so, 9:20, 9:30, we were all done and off to Rock and Roller Coaster because we were there. Of course, my youngest daughter can't go on Rock and Roller Coaster. She's not tall enough. And I think I mentioned this on Discord. I don't know if I've said this on the show, but my son was screaming. He was shaking, crying. He's a little bit of a thrill seeker, but he was terrified. As soon as he saw that roller coaster just go from the kickoff.
Once you get past that the show, the pre-show, and you get into that alley, and they let you in right there, right where it takes off, and it takes off. So I can understand why that would be the thing that sets him off.
Well, this is his first big boy ride, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, I mean, he's got Mine Train, he's been on Space Mountain and Splash. Those are gentle rides. But no, this is like the first real one. Like, you're going upside down, buddy. And he's kind of excited for it. And then he sees it and he's shaking, he's crying. We get to the ride vehicle. My daughter's brave. She had to ride with somebody else because just the 3 of us. And he's like, I don't want to go. And he gets into the car seat. He's like, oh my God, Daddy, no, don't make me do this. And I'm like, shush, you're going in. You're going to love it. And of course, the thing straps down, and he's never had the strap down,
the harness thing.
Harness. And he's terrified. And then we're going, and he's just screaming, ah! And just as I suspect, as soon as we go off, we hit that first loop to loop. his screams of fear turn into screams of joy, and he's going, yeah, and he goes again a second time, and he loves it just as much, and this is like one of his favorite rides of the whole show. And if anything, that the whole vacation was worth it just for those moments where parents are either looking at me and like, what are you doing to your children? Please take these kids away from this abusive father, to all the other fathers looking at me says, yeah, you make him go on that ride. And he loved it by the time he
Well, I
was
think
done.
everybody has to know their kids, and you know your kid that he's just got to get over this, and then he'll enjoy it. Versus like where you took your other one, you didn't make them go on Tower of Terror because you knew it was real. So everybody has to know
I know my kids' limits, yeah, for sure. So we're off Rock and Roller Coaster right around 10:30 or so. No, excuse me, 10:51. I have it down. And my daughter has gone on no rides whatsoever. My wife took her to go face painting. She waited around for an hour, looked around the Lightning Queen area, and she's just bored and angry. My wife's getting irritated because she's been sitting around with my daughter doing nothing for like an hour. And of course, she gets to go on the ride and have fun too at the end. So now we do a little bit of 4 or 5-year-old fun. We head over to the Disney Junior area, which I haven't been through the archway in quite some time. It's all not boarded up, but it looks like half closed down type of thing. It's kind of sad what's left of that area now.
Yeah, well,
But
without the Little Mermaid theater, which I guess the running story is that there's during when it was closed with COVID, it got a lot of mildew and stuff like that they can't really use the theater anymore. So that's a big chunk of that area that's just kind of dead. So.
And I know the Star Wars area has meet and greets in it, but I didn't see like anybody going. I don't know if it was open, but like I didn't see anybody go into that building, and I wasn't
It's
about to
kind
go
of hidden
inside
in
my
the back unless there's a reason to go there. And then, I mean, they used to do the march, with the stormtroopers and stuff. They don't do that anymore. So yeah, there's not that other than the Disney Junior meet and greets. There's not a lot there.
So we got to meet Vampirina, which is one of her favorite Disney Junior characters. She was really cool with that. And then we did the Disney Junior. I think is it called Dance Party or Disney Junior stage show? I forget what they call it now.
It's got a new name. Yeah, we haven't done it since they changed it, so I don't remember what. But it's whatever the current Disney Junior show is.
Yeah, it was a dance party. We did it, and all three of my kids, from 10-year-old down to 5-year-old, were up and dancing, not being embarrassed, having their best lives in there, having a good time. So we did that, and that brings us to right around 12 o'clock. And in the meantime, I had gotten a lightning lane for Millennium Falcon at 2:35. So I have 3 lightning lanes at this point. So we were just like, we're just going to do some shows. So we did Frozen, and then we did Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. And then at 1:52, we go and we do some lunch at the Backlot Express. Nothing fancy. We wanted to get the, I think the whoopie pie was one of my things I wanted to get. So we got that. Not super impressed with it. Wasn't bad. It was yummy, but it wasn't like, okay, I don't know why this made my list. It was good, but it wasn't spectacular, right? Like if you had to choose one,
it looked pretty impressive. Like it was big and like color. I can understand why it was draw people in, but
we split it 5 ways and cut it into a pie, so everybody got like 2 big bites worth of it. So it was good value for your money for sure. It was $6 or something else like that, and it's pretty big. So that was good. So if that's back on the menu next year, that's probably something like if you want to try it, it's worth giving it a go. So we had lunch, and then at 3 o'clock, as soon as we got done with Frozen, we got a lightning lane for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at 8 o'clock. Right after lunch, we did a lightning lane for Toy Story Mania. And then at 3 o'clock, we were heading over to Millennium Falcon, and all of a sudden, it was super packed. Like, you couldn't push through people. Apparently, Falcon just went down. So I'm like, this is perfect. Most people will not say this is perfect, but I had a lightning lane for it, so now I have an anytime lightning lane. I can now do it at my leisure, and we were able to go back to the resort, and that's kind of what we did. So at about 3:30, went back to the room again. Given what we did this day, if we were to do Hollywood Studios again, let's say in the spring or the summer next year, we're going back again. The only thing we would have missed was Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster. I could skip over all the different shows that we did, and we could have left at 11 o'clock and had about 5 or 6 hours back at the resort, because we went back to the resort at what time? About 6 o'clock. And we had a mad dash of the best rides in the park. We go all the way to Rise. We go all the way back to Fantasmic. And after Fantasmic, we do Slinky Dog at night, which was awesome. I've never done it at nighttime before. And then we got off of Slinky. We did Millennium Falcon. After Millennium Falcon, we got online for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at 58, like with 2 minutes to spare. And then we were done. And we didn't use our Toy Story Mania pass. And if we had gone to the park maybe 30 minutes earlier, we would have had time to do that. But overall, we did everything in that park. We took a 2.5 hour break, and which you're able to do really easily at Caribbean Beach Resort, which is, I think, fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Lessons learned for the day. Fantastic was amazing, by the way. We got there like 20 minutes before the show. The amphitheater was completely full already, but there's bleachers in the back. And I have to say, I had like 3 of my kids. They were trying to see, and I kept getting up and kind of moving them over, or picking up my kids and putting them on the bleacher below us to kind of stand up, so they were the same level as like my head. And there was like some grown person behind me saying, "Get down! Other people are trying to watch the show." I mean, the bleachers are empty, right? Like you can move over 10 feet if you want. I'm trying to get my kids over so they're not standing in front of you. But if the show was that important to you, and that you wanted to make a perfect video because they were videotaping it, like you could have gotten here an hour early if that was that big of a deal. And I tried moving. They weren't standing the whole time, but they wanted to see Mickey. They wanted to get and see Moana walk on the water and all this other stuff. It was just irritating. Like they were like talking to me, but not talking to me. They were like, "Would you mind?" They were just kind of being passive aggressive. I'm like, you could shift over 5 feet if my 5-year-old standing on the bleacher 4 positions down from you is bothering you. I'm sorry. So and trust me, it wasn't like I had him on my shoulder where they had to move back and forth. Like for me, as tall as I am is not blocking you. My 5-year-old, 2 feet down, standing up is not for you.
I mean, you can usually tell when parents are trying to be courteous or at least aware, but still trying to enable their kids to see versus the ones that don't care.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Well, I mean, I ended up picking up my kids and moving over like 6 feet to get out of these people way. I mean, I don't want to mess with anybody in their viewing. Like everybody has a fair to be there, but I'm like, guys, it's not me trying to stand up getting your way. It's my 4-year-old daughter that's trying to see. So like, chill out for a minute. Like it's all good. That being said, fantastic day. The next day was our Epcot day, and
well, I guess before you get to that, I guess I'll cover
you're arriving. Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
So I was looking at, so when you were back at the room was when we left our house to drive down to the airport to LaGuardia. And we always allow a lot of extra time for that, especially for parking and getting to the airport and stuff like that. And then we wound up eating, we allowed enough time to eat dinner at LaGuardia. So funny, on our spreadsheet, when you're online for Rise of the Resistance is when we're eating at the airport. So one of us had more fun than the other.
I'm failing at this trip report because I'm not I'm looking at, I got to go back to the spreadsheet view now. My bad. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, and then we boarded the plane at about 8. And we flew Delta. Everything was fine. The kids had a good flight. It was a really nice flight down. We were 5 seats across, so we had 2 on one side, 3 on the other. The 3 kids sat together, and so my wife and I got to sit together and kind of enjoy that. Nice. And they, for the most part, they all behaved and stuff like that. So that was nice. Landed at Orlando Airport MCO at about 10:30. And we were taking a shuttle over to our airport hotel, the Spring Hill Suites. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the shuttle in that we called, and then, half hour goes by and it's not here yet. Call again. They're like, "What? It hasn't come yet?" I'm like, "Okay." So he's like radioing the guy, and they're like, "Okay." Yeah. Then all of a sudden some other one comes, and then he's like, "Oh, are you going to the Spring Hill Suites?" He's like, "Yeah, I'd take you, but I don't have room in my shuttle anymore." I'm like, "What?" So then I call again, and they're like, "Wait, what? They sent another shuttle?" So you could tell the front desk guy was getting real annoyed and like yelling at the other guy. We get there and they have good guest recovery. They give us like free waters. They let the kids go like shopping for free in the little market, grab whatever snacks they want and stuff like that. Yeah, so that worked out okay. But by the time we're all in bed and asleep, it's almost 1 a.m. by that point. But it is what it is, and all we needed was a room there. And we got up in the morning and had breakfast at the hotel. They have a nice breakfast there and stuff too. And then a little bit later, we head over to our Disney resort. But obviously you have some activity in the morning before we get to that point.
Right. So now it's Friday the 9th. We have been there since Tuesday. So I already feel like our vacation's been going on. This is our 3rd park day. So this is kind of the end of the first half because we kind of broke it out. Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and then we're going to go Magic Kingdom's Animal Kingdom, Epcot, right? So it kind of repeated itself a little bit. So this day, I'm doing a full park day at Epcot. You are basically kind of getting in and kind of doing my day.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. So let me pull up a little bit of my detailed notes. I don't know why, since I just basically copied them to our spreadsheet. Maybe it's a little bit better. Okay, so wake up in the morning. I get a boarding group 61 for Cosmic Rewind, and then I get Test Track for 940. Now, I'm thinking about repeating my strategy for Epcot from the summer, right? You rope drop Remy, you get Frozen or Test Track, and then you just wait online for the other one, and then the rest of the rides at the park are just easy to get on throughout the day. There's no struggle, nothing to wait for, other than Cosmic Rewind, obviously.
Yeah.
And boy, was I wrong. And I was kicking myself in the pants because of it. So we tap in at 8:35. That's 5 minutes after we're a couple of minutes late getting into the park for early entry. And we got in line for Remy's at 8:39. We got off of Remy's literally 70 minutes later.
Wow.
The line was all the way up to kind of the entrance to go into that like back area where you kind of make the left to get towards Remy's. And it was a switchback, like with at least 3 or 4 deep, that whole length. And then once you got in there, it was a switchback before the fountain, and a couple times in the fountain, and then the switchback left and right. It was dreadful wait. And apparently, I found out talking with our friend Zach that apparently the people that are waiting to get in the park at the front get walked back early to get online for 8:30. So basically, International Gateway had no
didn't have the advantage you thought it would. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. Because the problem was we got out at almost 10 o'clock, and the line was a third of what it was. Like they had taken away all the external lines. So if I had gotten the lightning lane for Remy's and then rope drop Frozen or Test Track, I would have had a much better experience.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Epcot doesn't have that much to do with lines, and it really didn't impact our day quite a bit. So we did Remy's, and then we went to La Hall for a snack. So we got like a baguette, we got a pastry, and I forget one other thing that we got. And we sat outside. It was absolutely delicious. And it's like, okay, so what do we do now? So okay, we got out of La Hall at about 10:15. We did Test Track at 10:40. I booked a lightning lane for Frozen for 8 o'clock at night, so that would have been perfect because I had moved Akershus from 3 to 6. I was able to do that a couple days before. So I know what our evening is. We're gonna do Akershus, we're gonna do Frozen, and then we're gonna do Harmonious. That was our evening for tonight. And we're gonna take a midday break. And spoilers, we did not take a midday break. It just didn't turn out that way. So once we got out of Remy's and had our snack, we kind of went through UK and Canada to kind of go up there. Halfway through, we bought our Olaf. We noticed all the different Olafs. We're like, oh, what is that? And then we remembered we had watched an allears.net video of where they were type of thing. We're like, oh, let's do that with the kids. They'll love it. So we ended up picking up one of those and made our way up for Test Track. So we're done for Test Track around 12, right around 11 o'clock. We got online for Cosmic. Just to give you an idea for BG61, we got online at 11:49. I think we could have gotten online maybe about a half hour earlier because I think we got called at like 11:30, quarter after 11 time frame for 61. We got to the merge point at 12:15, so it was about a half hour, a little less than a half hour to go to meet up with the lightning lane people. So the battle boarding group did not individual lightning lane would have saved me a half hour at that point
of line time.
Yep. So if you want to put a dollar sign, $70 for 30 minutes. I think I got the better deal on that one, especially not for you that have never been on it before. So yeah. I did what you did the first time I went on.
Right. I was going to say the value to the individual lightning lane is right now you can only get unless it's the after hours, you can only get one virtual queue. So if you want to ride it more than once, you basically have to pay for it. Yeah.
And we paid for it over the summer because it's definitely worth the money if you've never been on. So don't get me wrong on that one. But if you were counting your dollars, it saved me about 30 minutes. Or an individual lightning would have saved me 30 minutes. Excuse me. I can't think tonight. We got off a lightning lane, at Cosmic Rewind by 12:40.
Do the kids like that one? Because I know that they hadn't ridden it yet, right?
They absolutely my two oldest loved it. My youngest was terrified of it, but less so than Space Mountain. If Space Mountain was 10 on a terror scale, she was at like a 7.5, 8.
Okay.
So here I am getting on Cosmic Rewind, and you were just arriving at Disney Springs. So what was your morning like getting situated and getting out the door?
Yeah. So we got picked up by our car service company that we use, FL Tours, to take us from the airport hotel over to Kidani Village where we were staying. They surprised us. I think I mentioned this last time, with a limo to pick us up. So that was exciting. Did our stop at Publix to get, our water and sunscreen and all that sort of stuff. We got to Kidani right around 11, left our bags and stuff, including everything we got at Publix with Bell Services, including refrigerated stuff they can keep in a refrigerator, which is good. And our room wasn't ready. We checked in and stuff like that, but our room wasn't ready. So we went off to Disney Springs right around 11:30. I think we headed to the bus. We got there around noon. We got our map for the Christmas tree stroll, because as soon as we got in, the kids saw that and like what it was, and they wanted to do it. And I was like, all right, well, it's a free thing. Let's do it. Maybe we'll see a couple of the trees. Same thing like you. They wound up seeing every single tree and putting every single sticker and getting their prize and stuff like that. I was like, but
I want to mention that we talked about like panicking about not making this a normal trip, but taking advantage of like the holiday flavors of the resort. This is one of the things I was happy to do, because like we're going to go look at all the Christmas trees, and my family's like, why are you yelling? We want to do this too. So we did it, and we had a good time. And it seems like your family did too.
We did too. I mean, I think the younger two were very adamant about seeing everyone. I think myself and my oldest were kind of like, all right, if we don't get to the last one, it's all right. But they wanted to go do all that. So we did that first. Then we had actually we met up with a friend who's actually on Discord, Dina, who's been on our show before. She was working kind of in the area for various things, but she was remotely working. So she came over to Disney Springs to grab her lunch. So we saw her for a bit. So it was good to see her.
Awesome.
And then we went and had lunch at Enzo's Hideaway, which was my son's request for somewhere to eat for his birthday. I know this isn't one that gets a lot of publicity, but we really like it, and it's usually easy to get an ADR for it. I think the kids' meals there are really good values and stuff like that. So if you're looking for something a little different at Disney Springs, keep that one in mind. So we did that, and then we got off around that, and around 1:30 or so we were out of that and started getting our drink on at the various carts around Disney Springs. There were a number of holiday ones that we wanted to try. So I was stopping at carts to get drinks while the kids were going to look at Christmas trees.
Perfect. I know I had posted on Discord of the Dockside margarita, the candy cane margarita?
One. Yeah.
Did you have that?
I did. I had that one. I think that was probably my favorite one that I had.
Literally tasted like a candy cane. I
liked that it wasn't like in your face peppermint. It kind of finished more with the peppermint, so kind of like cool, but it still tasted like a margarita, but then had that finish. So I thought it was pretty good. We had several good ones that we enjoyed it there. So, but that was one I had. My wife hates peppermint though, so she wouldn't even like go near it. So I had to take one for the team and finish that one.
Oh, darn. That's all right. Okay, so you're at Disney Springs. You're kind of doing your stroll. As you're starting your Christmas tree stroll, I was getting off a Cosmic Rewind,
right?
And then we were kind of at that half the park. We didn't know what to do at that point, so it was like 12:40, 1 o'clock, and this is kind of the point. Like, do we stay or do we go back to the resort? Because we got to get back before 6 o'clock. Akasha's reservation. We ended up staying, which kind of surprised the heck out of me. So we got off Cosmic Rewind. I got a lightning lane for Spaceship Earth. It was actually about a 20-25 minute posted wait time at that point. So I was like, oh, I'll snag this.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it at 1:06, and it was for like about 20 minutes from there. So we got one of our first holiday cookies at Connections Cafe. A long line for that, and we had a potty break for the kiddos. And then a 1:15, we got online for Spaceship Earth. We got off at around a little after 1:30. And then I want to remind everybody out there with Genie Plus, keep refreshing your Genie Pluses. I was able to snag a Remy's for $240 at $150, which is typically $240s get up at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
so
that's really good.
Apparently, either somebody was dropped one and I was just lucky, or they were replenishing it or something. But I was able to snag that at $150. You're getting drinks from Cats. What does that mean?
I misspelled carts.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. Obviously, you've had 2 or 3 drinks at that point.
Apparently, I typed that after I had a couple of drinks. And then we stopped at Amaret's Patisserie to pick up some of the holiday desserts that we then ate later, but we wanted to get that there. And then we finished up the Christmas tree stroll, and then we headed back to the resort. We were notified our room was ready, so we headed back at about 3:00. We left Disney Springs, went to our room, and unpacked and that sort of thing.
So once we got a Spaceship Earth, we didn't know what we were going to do. We were getting snacks. We're getting hungry. So we go to the Mexico Pavilion, and I get my margarita from Mexico. I got one. I didn't get it from the stand. I got it from the restaurant across the way. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. But we got a bunch of taco stuff.
It's the Cantina. I forget the.
Yeah, you're right. And then, it's got nice seating in the back. It was jam packed, but if you're patient enough, you will find a seat. And we were able to sit for all 5 of us. So by around 2:30, we had lunch. And while we were there, we went to the Grand Fiesta Tour, which was the first time for my kids. And I like a nice boat ride. My only regret for the whole vacation was not getting on Living with the Land. I know you want to cancel this podcast now because you heard that.
And my wife has turned the podcast off.
Yes. So it's about quarter to 3, and we're in Mexico, and we kind of just don't know what to do at this point. So we're doing Epcot things at this point. We're just walking and looking for Olaf and having snacks, and you're getting back to your room at this point, right? It's around 3:00 or so.
Yeah, so we got back and unpacked, and then we headed down to the pool. The pool at Kidani is pretty nice. Has a really nice water slide. I went on it. My kids got me to go on it several times. I think during our trip, between the 2 different pool times, my daughter probably went on it 15 to 20 times. She loved it. And also at this time, we had friends who used to live up by us, but moved down to the Tampa area.
Mm-hmm.
They came over and visited. So we had a nice evening with friends. Their daughter's the same age as my oldest. So the 2 13-year-olds got to have some teenager hangout time and stuff, which was nice. Spent a lot of time at the pool, getting drinks at the pool bar, and just kind of, having a good time. We wound up ordering food from Sanaa to go for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ate that up in our room while we were waiting for the food to be ready, because you kind of order it and then you go there and you, like with the mobile app, say you're here and they start preparing it. So we got a drink. We tried the gingerbread martini that was really good from the bar there, and just chatted with my friend. And then, so shout out for Sanaa to go. If you are looking for, this has to be one of the most economical meals I feel like we ever did at Disney for the quality of the food.
You blew my mind with the final price of this to feed all these people.
Yeah, it was, we added some tip on top of it, but it came to $197, and that was more than enough for all 8 of us, including a bottle of wine, because you can get bottles of wine to go. So I think the bottle of wine was like $30 or something. But we had plenty of food. We got a couple bread services, the pork shank, a couple butter chickens, kids, and plenty of food. But obviously we were sharing things. It wasn't like everybody got an appetizer, entree, dessert, but we had tons of food. It was great to sit in the room and stuff like that.
$25 a head with a bottle of wine. Not bad.
So yeah, definitely recommend that if you're staying at Kidani or anything around there. Because even if you're not don't have a room there, you can get it to go and go eat at the, out by the pool or something like that. So definitely something to consider. Other than that, we just hang out and stayed up talking way too late. I think they finally left around 10:30, something like that. And we tried to get everybody to bed with grand plans of rope dropping in the morning. So that was the rest of our Friday, which was our first day, on property.
So it seems like you had a good day, just pool time, eating, hanging out with friends, doing all that type of thing. That's really good. That's a solid 7 hours, the half day back.
Yeah, I know we kind of said last time, once we got to the park, our 3 park days were go, go, go. We didn't have a ton of resort time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish I had more resort time for, paying to stay to deluxe. We definitely got our resort dollar worth that first day.
That's good. Yeah. So while you were doing all of that, we did Remy's at 4:00. We booked Soarin' for 4:05. And by the way, low key, Soarin' was, I think, my daughter's favorite ride. We got center row, center.
Oh, nice.
Mechanism, whatever. There was no bendy Eiffel Tower whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we had a good time with that.
So for those of you who don't know, you can ask the cast members, if they're not too backed up, they'll let you go to it, or if you have to wait one. But you want to ask for row B1, which is B is the center section, and then 1 is the first row, so you don't have any feet dangling in your eyesight, and that it definitely has less bendy to the Eiffel Tower when you're there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we used Remy's at 4. I booked Soarin' Lightning Lane at 4:05. We got off at 5:45, and then from Remy's, I'm trying to think what direction we went. I think we went because we went to Soarin' at 6:30. And forgive me, our Actions reservation was a little after 7:00. It wasn't 6:00. And we just kind of basically went around again. And my wife did some shops. She loves going into Japan and doing some shopping in those shops. She looked at a couple other things. We met Snow White in Germany. Excuse me. And if people don't realize this or remember the story, my son had a kiss from Snow White when he was like 8 months old. He had like a little a lipstick like impression on his forehead when we did Cinderella's Royal Table back in 2015. And then we went back again, and he got another picture of with Snow White when he was like 2. And there's two really fun pictures on our wall. So we make fun of him. It's like, well, Snow White's your girlfriend. We're gonna go meet her. And now it's kind of he's almost 8 years old, so it's a little awkward. So we don't push that because that's getting to the creepy territory. Like, at what age can you not like hug a princess anymore? It's just he still can, but it's probably next time we go, it's just like, you're too close to an awkward teenager for that.
Yeah.
But he had a great time. He was grumpy about it, but he was a champ and posed for some pictures and smiled. So we kind of did that type of thing. Listened to some music. And we got a couple more cookies and Soarin', and we kind of ran up to Soarin', and then after Soarin', we ran all the way to Akershus. And I gotta say, Akershus was very, very good. Granted, it's a $300 meal with tip, right? If you're tipping 20%, I think the food comes out to be about like $230, $250, somewhere in that range for a family of 5, 3 kids, 2 adults, and the servers in there. We had a waiter. He was very good. I mean, he was on point. He wasn't intrusive. He got us what we needed. And if you don't know, when you go there, it is family style. So they bring you a big plate of like mac and cheese and some meatballs and some salmon and some mashed potatoes and a whole bunch of different things. And salads previous to that, and some bread service, and some dessert afterwards. But you're allowed to ask for more. So don't be like, I was wondering, is this all we get? I don't think this is all we get. And he comes over, about to ask us, would you like some more mac and cheese? And we're like, yes. My daughter's like, can I have some more salmon? And she's like, yeah, and it's no problem. So he brings over little plates for that. We're done. We got to see all the princesses, which is one of the big things I wanted to do. And my youngest daughter, Aurora, had one of the best reactions. Like, I'm getting to meet my future self, Aurora, Princess Aurora. That's going to be me when I grow up. And so it was nice lady that took care of all the kids. So we saw Aurora, we saw Jasmine, Belle, Ariel, and Snow White. So we had another encounter with Snow White that day. Overall, it was just as good as when we went there in 2019. I would highly recommend it if you have Disney loving children in your group. Not recommend it that if you don't care about the princesses, it's not worth the money. If you're not into the character meet and greet, the only thing I wish they would had a breakfast here versus a dinner.
That's what we used to always do in the past. Was we would do the breakfast and try to get an ADR for before the park opened.
Mm-hmm.
That was always great, and it was not that it was cheap, but it was a little bit cheaper than lunch or dinner. But it sounds like I've heard several people now say that it's pretty good, the new meal here. The food wise, they're pretty happy with the food since it's reopened. So that's good.
It's better. I'd say it's better than it was before. It was like a buffet, like appetizer buffet, and then you would select your entree. And the entrees were okay, but they weren't great. This is nice, hearty food with a Norway flair to it, which is pretty good. So I was very happy with it. After we got out of Akershus, we went right onto Frozen. After Frozen, we kind of hop, skipped, and jumped over to Harmonious because we got off of Frozen at 8:45, and we got situated for Harmonious. I couldn't find a good spot. I tried to go near Japan where we were over the summer, and we just couldn't squeeze in anywhere. And but my kids got really good views of it. There's still really good views of that part of the park if you kind of move around.
Yeah.
And we went back to the resort, and basically so far we have three days in the parks, 1 full day, not going back. We're doing rope drop almost every single day. we're now tired, but we've been taking showers the night before, so the kids we don't have to do the whole big bathroom cleaning, showering, dressing routine in the morning. We can basically wash our faces, brush our teeth, get our clothes on, and go. And we've had 2 days at the pool. Like you, we were going up and down the water slides. My kids love the pool. They live in the pool during the summer, so they had some fun with it. But each time it was maybe like an hour or two. And talking with my wife and like, how would we do it differently? Like, what is the lesson learned? Like, how do we put the vacation back into the vacation? And I kind of said, well, what about a whole resort day? I don't think I want to do a whole resort day. I think that unless we had like you, we had friends coming over and we can kind of like have fun, like a little tiny party at Disney.
Yeah.
That's different. That's a thing to do.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think we could spend more than 3 to 5 hours at the pool in any given day. And then, or what do we do at night? Like, or I'm not going to mini golf. We're not that type of family. We're going to go spend more money running around doing that type of thing. I want to take it easy. So, I think next time we're going to blend. The pool at Caribbean Beach was awesome. And I'm going to have more to say on our second day there. So the next day for us on Saturday the 9th is
the 10th. Saturday the 10th.
Excuse me, Saturday the 10th is going to be our second Magic Kingdom day and your first park day.
First park day, which is also Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
Or to start at least.
We have half the plan to go, Phil, the half the trip report to go. Do we want to take a break here and then split this up into 2 different shows? We'll keep recording, but we'll put a stop here.
I think that makes sense.
Yep, and we'll do like a release tonight and then a release halfway through the week or something else like that. So if you're listening and you want more, just keep on to the next episode. We're going to continue here, but we're going to take a break because we don't want to put out a 2-hour episode because that's kind of unwieldy and people see 120 minutes ago. No, not this time. So thank you for listening. Make sure you listen to part 2 of our trip report, and we'll see you on the flip side, guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.